Shocking rescue, Mother White Tiger vs. Giant Python. What happened at 3 a.m. will haunt you. The night was dark, impossibly dark. The kind of darkness that drapes itself over everything, swallows the sounds of the world, and makes every little rustle sound like a scream. But in that deep black, in the heart of the jungle, something was stirring. Something terrifying. Just past the edge of the village, whispers of dread threaded through the trees. They said it happened at 3 a.m. An hour when the dead seem to walk and shadows grow long. This time, though, it wasn't ghosts creeping through the foliage, it was a struggle between life and death. The unbelievable showdown, a mother white tiger, fierce and desperate, versus a giant python, thick and coiling. The moonlight sliced through the trees like a knife, illuminating the scene. The tiger, aggressive and agile, her white fur glimmering, muscles tensed as she prepared for the fight of her life. Her eyes burned with an intensity that could pierce the deepest fears. But there, lurking in the darkness, was the python's scales glistening like polished armor, its formidable length unwinding and ready to strike. The tension in the air was electric, a tangible pulse that seemed to echo the heartbeat of the jungle itself. Then came the first clash. A terrifying hiss echoed through the forest, a sound mixing raw hunger and primal rage. The spiral of tension tightened. Every creature froze, every heartbeat synced to the chaos about to unfold. Animals huddled close, eyes wide with terror and curiosity, the predatory instincts within them ignited. It was a hunt, a spectacle, a battle for survival, a moment that would leave everyone breathless. Just as the python lunged, the air thick with impending violence, shadows danced, unaware of what horrors lay in wait. Before we continue, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The chaos escalated. The tiger swiped her powerful paw, claws glinting in the moonlight, just missing the snake's slick body as it twisted away. The adrenaline was palpable, a wild speed coursed through the jungle as the two creatures clashed in a dizzying dance of instinct and fury. The crashing of underbrush and fierce roars turned the air thick with tension. Eyes of the onlookers, gazelles, monkeys, and even the night flies held their breath, a palpable silence descending as if the world had stopped. What would happen next? Would the tiger win, fierce and loving mother, protecting her young? Or would the python reign as the cold king of constriction? In that very instant, time stretched, and one couldn't help but wonder it was just the beginning. The moment hung in the air, a delicate balance of ferocity and fear, as the white tiger lunged again, her roar reverberating through the darkness. The world around seemed to vibrate, a symphony of nature paralyzed by this primal clash. With a quick twist, the python retaliated, darting its serpentine body like a flash of lightning. It wrapped around a nearby tree with agility that belied its massive form, using every muscle to coil tighter. The forest itself felt the tension, branches creaking under unseen pressure. The tiger knew she had to stay agile. Movement was her ally. In a razor-thin moment, she pivoted, sharp eyes locked onto the glistening scales of her foe, which shimmered under the scant light filtering through the leaves. That cold stare spoke of centuries of survival, every ounce of her being screamed for her cubs. The keen eyes of the jungle bore witness. Monkeys screeched overhead, their tiny hearts racing. The gazelles, frozen like statues, couldn't even blink, while the forest floor seemed to hold its breath. A sharp hiss sliced through the night air again, more menacing than the last. This time, it was a call to arms for the python. With uncanny speed, it lunged, aiming to latch onto the tiger. Fangs glinted, spotlights in the chaotic darkness. In that split second, time expanded like a stretched rubber band. The tiger felt every muscle tighten, instinct screaming. She sidestepped, feeling the air move past her in a rush, and swiped with fierce precision. Claws met scales, drawing blood, a stark contrast against the pale fur of her attacker. The chill of danger wrapped around the spectators. They knew they were seeing something extraordinary. Struggles between beasts often bore witness to nature's harsh law, but this was something deeper. This was a fight between a mother's love and a monster's hunger. As the tiger reclaimed her ground, a fierce wave of adrenaline surged through her. She roared again, a guttural challenge that rang through the jungle like battle-cry thunder. The python recoiled, gauging its opponent with cold, calculating eyes that promised nothing but death. Suddenly, it struck back, darting forward, jaws unhinging in a deadly arc. The tiger's instinct kicked in, she dodged just in time, her heart racing. But the python was relentless, its massive body attempting to ensnare her. She felt the shadows of its crushing grip brush against her pelt. Then, amid the chaos, a fleeting thought crossed the tiger's mind: her cubs were hidden not far away. Would they be safe where she left them? Panic mixed with her fighting spirit. She had to end this quickly, she had to return to them. In one final, furious flurry, the tiger launched herself at the python, claws extended, targeting the serpent's neck. But just as she made her move, an earth-shattering roar erupted from the depths of the jungle, shocking her into a moment of hesitation. The ground trembled, and the entire forest seemed to shudder. What was that? Before she could process anything, a weight dropped across her back, pulling her down. The python wasn't the only predator lurking in the darkness. As the tiger struggled beneath the weight, the unknown threat seemed to rise from the shadows. The jungle held its breath once more, and the night was far from over. Would the mother beast fight alone against a new adversary? Or would she find strength and unity, in a world of chaos? The battle had just begun. The tiger recoiled beneath the crushing weight, her breath caught in a tight knot of fear and fury. The pressure on her back pressed down like an impossible burden, and all at once, the glimmering scales of the python faded into the background of her mind. This new threat was slow and deliberate, its presence looming, suffocating. A sudden rasping sound broke through the fray, an unseen predator relishing the spectacle. The air crackled with tension, thick with the sweet scent of impending violence. The tiger's instincts flared. She strained against the oppressive force, muscles flexing with sheer desperation. A low growl, fierce and guttural, erupted from her throat. Branches rustled. Shadows shifted. The unseen attacker moved. Her heart pounded furiously as she struggled to understand the threat. Who or what was confining her? As if in answer to her question, a hulking mass emerged from the veil of darkness, a massive, scarred lion. His mane, black as night, framed a face lined with battle, eyes that burned with primal aggression. The jungle had produced a rival, an uncontested king come to claim dominance. The python, still poised and writhing, saw this new player and paused, its lethal advances stalling momentarily. The sudden tension of the moment felt like a spark set to ignite the dry leaves of the forest floor. All at once, the lion lunged forward, locking his sights on the serpent. With a ferocious roar, he barreled into the python with earth-shattering might, teeth flashing, drawing blood. The forest felt alive again, the monkeys screeching with a new fear, the gazelles breaking from their paralyzed trance. The tiger seized her chance. The weight of the lion made her wilder instincts roar forth. She scrambled to her feet, tail lashing, anger unharnessed. Together with this unexpected ally, both predators faced the serpent-old rivals united against a common enemy. But a chill swept through the air, penetrating the safety of the moment. The python writhed violently, its eyes narrowing, calculating. It was far from defeated. The air was thick with the smell of adrenaline, and the tiger felt a deepening dread. Would this alliance save her, or doom them both? As the lion and tiger closed ranks, a new terror lashed out from the forest's edge, an unknown force, unseen but tangible, whispering through the shadows, carrying with it the stench of death and unspeakable hunger. Panic surged within the tiger, tighter than any snake's coil. She darted toward her injured opponent, claws at the ready. But then she hesitated, caught between the dual danger, her heart a churning storm. The lion roared again, a primal, spine-chilling sound. But the python, fierce and retaliatory, was unfazed, lashing at the lion's flank with deadly precision. Time slowed as the tiger wrestled with purpose. The world around her was chaos, but she had to think, had to act. Her cubs were counting on her strength. As the battle unfolded, something unexpected flickered in the jungle's shadows, a glimpse of movement that didn't belong. Were there more dangers lurking, or was it an ally hidden away? The jungle seemed to fade into a surreal tapestry of roars and hisses, as the tiger prepared to fight for her cubs and survival. Was her only hope in the lion's strength, or could she summon her own power to reclaim control? The night was thick with uncertainty, and the battle was far from over. The moment had come to choose: unite or fight alone, live or perish. What would she decide? The tiger's heart raced as she darted closer to the lion's side. Her instincts screamed danger, but the need to protect her cubs drowned out the fear. The python thrashed, its sinewy body coiling and recoiling, each movement echoing the silent growl of malice hidden in the darkness. With a sudden jolt, the lion turned, swiping at the snake with lethal precision. He landed a solid blow, a strike that sent the python reeling. For a brief moment, the air hummed with the satisfied roars of victory. But the reprieve was fleeting. A flicker caught the tiger's eye, a faint shimmer of light in the jungle's shadows. It stopped her in her tracks, hope threading through her fear. Was someone watching, waiting? Or had her mind begun to betray her under pressure? Fighting through uncertainty, she surged forward, claws unsheathed, adrenaline coursing through her legs. She needed to help the lion, needed to push her fear aside. Together, they could challenge any foe. But as the python rallied, unfazed by the lion's aggression, a wild determination seized her. The serpent's body struck like lightning, its fangs glinting in the sparse moonlight. This time, the target was the tiger. Her breath hitched, and she leaped with every ounce of strength. She barely dodged the deadly bite, but fury sparked within her, igniting the primal fight she had long buried in the back of her mind. Roaring, she lunged at the python's vulnerable underbelly. Her claws sank deep into the flesh, and the python writhed in pain, letting out a bone-chilling hiss. The jungle echoed her struggle. Every rustle, every scream fueled her resolve. This fight didn't just belong to her, it extended to every creature in the forest. The lion's presence was a powerful force beside her. Together, they were a force of nature, a tempest unleashed. But as the python coiled again, muscles tensing to strike them both, a foreboding feeling washed over the tiger. They were not the only players in this dark dance of life and death. From the shadows came a dread deeper than the python's menace. A low, rumbling growl rumbled in the distance, drawing closer. The air thickened, panic clawing at the back of her throat. Whatever was hidden was about to reveal itself, and she couldn't shake the feeling that this new threat would tip the scales in a deadly way. Time was running out. With every struggle, every ferocious hiss and desperate roar, she could feel the walls closing in. The jungle turned dense, pressing in around her, suffocating her chances of survival. Would she turn and flee, or face whatever was lurking? Tension escalated as she cast a glance toward the lion, his fierce eyes locked on the serpent. Together, they shared a moment of fierce understanding. A partnership born in blood, unified by instinct. But just as they prepared for their next move, a shadow leaped toward them, silencing the world around them. The darkness swallowed the night, and there was no place left to go. Would they face this new terror head-on, or would it consume them before they could even try? The moments ahead were critical. Survival was the only option. But who would fall and who would rise? The jungle held its breath, waiting, watching, unaware that the true horror was only just beginning. The shadow landed with a thud, its weight shoving the earth down and sending tremors through the ground. The tiger froze, eyes wide, heart pounding in her chest. The lion's growl deepened, a warning rumble that threaded through the night like an electric pulse. Emerging from the underbrush was a creature more terrifying than the python. A massive crocodile, glistening under the thinning moonlight, its scales like polished armor. The predator they had felt drawing closer, it loomed, eyes clouded with the hunger of the night. "Stay back," the lion bellowed, positioning himself between the tiger and the crocodile. But the tiger's instincts kicked into overdrive. She couldn't afford to hesitate. For her cubs. For their lives. The python continued its thrashing behind them, relentless as it wrapped tighter, pulling the lion toward its deadly embrace. Panic surged within her, fueled by helplessness and fear of losing everything. She couldn't leave her partner to fight alone. With a fierce scream, she sprinted toward the crocodile. Her claws slashed at the air as she dove low, hoping to catch the reptile off guard. Adrenaline surged through her veins, propelling her forward, but the crocodile was swift, jaws opening wide to flash its deadly teeth. The tiger twisted at the last moment, feeling the rush of wind from the snapping jaws. It was a near miss that turned her fury into something more focused. Teeth gnashing, she struck at the beast's exposed flank. Her claws connected just as the crocodile's powerful tail swung toward her, smashing against the jungle floor with a bone-rattling boom. The impact sent her sprawling, the world spinning in a blur. But she felt the ground beneath her, the familiar scent of damp earth and foliage reminding her of her purpose. She was not just fighting for herself but for every creature in the jungle. From behind, the lion roared, his massive paws slamming into the python once more. The flick of the serpent's tail sent a jolt of fear through the tiger. Each moment felt elongated, a grim reminder that time was a luxury they could not afford. With a twist of her body, she regained her footing. She had to keep moving. But the shadows weren't done. Another growl echoed through the trees, sharper, more jagged. Another predator? Or something larger than both the crocodile and the python combined. Then she saw it flicker between the trees, a pair of glowing eyes watching, and that heavy scent of wet fur. The jungle felt like a cage closing in on her. Fight! The lion shouted, snapping her back into focus. The python slithered closer, a menacing hiss escaping its throat. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shifted, and the chaos of battle tossed them around like leaves in a storm. The tiger swiped wildly at the python, distraction her ally as she darted close enough to nip at the crocodile's tail. She felt the teeth of both beasts snapping around them, danger intertwining with desperation. But would they survive this night? Or would the jungle claim them? The tension swelled, a tangible pulse in the air, and as another growl sounded from the darkness, a wave of dread washed over her. What was lurking, biding its time? What unseen threat stalked closer? The answer was only a heartbeat away. With every thumping pulse in her chest, she braced herself for what was to come. The jungle erupted in chaos, the sounds of rage and fear blending into a cacophony. The lion, muscles taut, lunged against the python's constricting grip, but the serpent was relentless, its body a coil of brute force and cold, slick scales that threatened to crush them both. Push! The tiger shouted, her voice slicing through the din. She felt the weight of the shadows pressing in closer, their eyes now more than just onlookers. It was a predatory presence, one that felt ancient and unforgiving. She lashed out again, her claws finding purchase on the crocodile's flank, but the beast countered, swinging its enraged tail that cracked against the jungle earth and sent splinters dancing. The tiger barely dodged in time, the explosive force rattling her bones and igniting fear deep within her gut. She steadied herself, heart racing, determined not to falter. Together! The lion cried. His breath was ragged, yet the fire in his eyes burned brighter than ever. The tiger nodded. They needed to synchronize their attacks, to bolster each other against this tide of darkness. With a shared glance, they surged toward their foes, the tiger's body low and the lion's growl rising. The python squeezed harder, but the lion wasn't done yet. Instead of retreating, he charged at the python's head, aiming to distract it, to draw its attention away from the tiger who was following right behind. In that critical heartbeat, the crocodile lunged, jaws wide, teeth like ivory daggers glimmering in the pale moonlight. The tiger was caught in the middle of a deadly game, but survival burned in her veins. She pivoted sharply, launching herself at the reptile's jaws with precision, her claws raking across its snout and causing it to screech in sudden agony. But the distraction was costly. The python coiled tighter, tightening its grip around the lion, who roared in defiance. The sound was a mix of valor and despair, echoing into the night, stirring the beasts of the jungle. Then came the growl, a new one, deeper and more ominous than anything they had faced. A chill crept down the tiger's spine as the creature behind the trees revealed itself. It was larger, bulkier, its silhouette looming against the moon, a predator that made the crocodile and python appear small. Run! The tiger shouted, feeling urgency claw at her throat like 1,000 invading talons. But where would they run? The jungle felt like an entrapment, every leaf and vine conspiring against them. With a flick of its massive head, the shadow leaped, crashing through the underbrush with devastating force. The ground vibrated under the weight of this new arrival, and the tiger felt her heart seize. They were surrounded, caught between the tightening coils of the python and the snapping jaws of the crocodile, while the insatiable force of darkness was closing in. The lion struggled against the python's grip, fighting to emerge from the crushing embrace. "Find your cubs!" he yelled, desperation lacing his voice. "Protect our legacy!" In a moment of clarity, the tiger's focus narrowed. She couldn't falter. She had to find a way out, a way to shield her cubs from this encroaching nightmare. With every ounce of strength, she launched herself at the looming shadow, aiming not just to protect but to retaliate. But what awaited her in the depths of the jungle? What horror would emerge next? And just as she made her leap, a sound that silenced the entire battle erupted, a low, rumbling roar that shook the very foundation of the jungle. Eyes wide, hearts racing, they all turned, fear entwined with curiosity. What kind of beast would join the fray? Would it help or finish them off? The rumble reverberated through the air, a sound primal and powerful, causing the jungle itself to pause. In that suspended moment, time felt formless. Shadows shifted, unsure of their intentions. The colossal figure loomed larger, an unmistakable force of nature. The tiger's heart raced as she slammed to the ground, her claws digging into the damp earth. It was a desperate attempt to divert her focus. The python's coils remained unyielding around the lion, each breath he took punctuated by the tightening of the serpent's grip. She could barely catch a glimpse of the new predator, but its eyes gleamed piercing, hungry. "Keep fighting!" the lion gasped, his voice strained. The python was winning, and he knew it. Clawing against his impending fate, he twisted in a futile attempt to shake off the constrictor. Blood flooded into the air, the scent thick and sharp, igniting something primal in the tiger. With adrenaline surging through her veins, the tiger surged forward again, feeling the rush of desperation wash over her. She had to act, and she had to act fast. The looming figure stepped into view, revealing itself to be a massive male Bengal tiger, his stripes flowing like liquid shadows across his powerful frame. "Whose side are you on?" she thought, terror and anger mixing in her chest. He looked at her, his gaze flickering between the python and the encroaching darkness. "Together," he said, the rumble of his voice resonating like thunder through the jungle. "We can take them down. We need to." That's when something instinctual kicked in. Two predators. Two hunters. As one, they charged the tiger, barreling toward the python while the Bengal jumped toward the crocodile with a roar that shook the branches above. Swift as shadows, they dove into battle, the sounds of claws on scales and teeth biting flesh blending into the chaotic symphony of the jungle. The python, caught off guard by the new arrival, began to uncoil, hissing in fury. The lion capitalized on that moment, forcing his body forward, pouring every ounce of strength into one last burst of defiance. The tiger turned just in time to see the crocodile snap its jaws, but the Bengal tiger was there, knocking it aside with a fierce blow. It was a distraction, a fleeting chance. "Now!" the Bengal roared, a forcefulness that echoed through the treetops. The tiger sprang forward, launching herself into the python's remaining coils, claws slashing, teeth biting. For the first time, the weight of the beast weakened. But they weren't safe yet. As the python writhed, awkwardly shedding itself of the lion, a sinister laugh echoed through the jungle, a sound that felt alive, an ancient malice that had awakened. The shadows trembled, shifting behind the trees as figures began to close in. The tiger's heart pounded. What had they stirred? "More are coming!" the Bengal tiger shouted over the rising chaos. Shadows thickened, and in the darkness, eyes glinted maliciously. The snapping of jaws and hissing of snakes mingled with growls that promised only terror. She swallowed hard. Were they fated to fight against endless foes, or was there a way they could turn the tide? With every fiber of her being screaming to protect her cubs, to protect her very essence, she made a chilling realization: defeat wasn't an option. She turned back to her newfound ally, heart racing even faster. Together we must face them together once again. But would they have the strength against the onslaught of the unknown? What new horrors lurked beyond the edges of the jungle's embrace? The air thickened with tension, each breath an echo of impending doom. "Get ready," the tiger whispered as she readied herself for the next wave. Would the jungle yield to them, or would this be their last stand? The ground trembled as the shadows morphed and slithered through the trees. The air buzzed with an electric intensity, and every hair on the tiger's back danced with primal fear. The Bengal tiger caught her glance, his amber eyes hardening with determination, unflinching against the gathering storm. They were two predators, but tonight they faced a force that threatened to eclipse them both. "4, the Bengal whispered, his voice deep and steady. "No, 5, he corrected as more eyes flickered ominously in the darkness. They glinted like shards of broken glass, emerging from the web of shadows. It was a gathering of fearsome beasts, wolves, a pack led by an enormous alpha with gleaming teeth and a thirst for blood, moved stealthily into the clearing, their low growls reverberating like a distant thunder. The lion struggled to rise, his wounds fresh and deep, blood matting his golden mane. "We need to find a way out. This will be," he gasped, but the words broke into ragged breaths, fading against the mounting noise of the encroaching horde. "No." The tiger snapped back, her voice fierce with conviction. "We fight. For all that this jungle is worth." She felt the rush of adrenaline ignite within her, bringing her back from the brink of despair. The Bengal tiger echoed her sentiment with a low growl, the sound rich with resolve. The python, free now, eyed the lion like a butcher examining meat. Slithering closer, its scales glinted, a predator reborn. With a swift movement, it coiled on the forest floor, preparing to strike again. "You made a mistake joining them, little tigers," it hissed, its voice a serpent's whisper that slithered into their minds. The air crackled with tension as the tigers positioned themselves, surrounding the lion with fierce defiance. Suddenly, the wolves lunged forward, a blur of fur and teeth. It was chaos unleashed. The Bengal tiger pounced, using his size to tackle the leading wolf, his weight knocking the creature sideways. A flurry of fangs and claws erupted, and the sounds of snarls filled the clearing, a savage orchestra. The original night sounds of the jungle fled like frightened prey. The tiger darted to the lion, gnashing her teeth, holding the python at bay. "Get up. We can't do this alone." "Worry not," the lion snarled through gritted teeth. "I'll fight until my last breath." With renewed resolve, he pushed himself up, his legs trembling beneath him. Blood trickled, but his spirit burned bright, reminding the others of the fierce spirit that lay beneath their flesh. With one swift move, she tore at the python's length, trying to distract its focus. The serpent recoiled but struck back, its jaws snapping with a force that could crush bone. She dodged, fear hammering in her chest, her thoughts consumed by one question: could they fend off this horde? Just as the python lunged for the Bengal, the lion rushed in, gripping its length and biting into the thick muscle. The ancient laughter returned, now hauntingly close. It echoed through the jungle, mocking their valiant stand. "What is this, the last act of desperate fools?" came a voice, older than the jungle itself, resonating through the trees. Suddenly, darkness swirled, thickening with an almost physical weight. The shadows morphed, drawing nearer, and in that dreadful moment, the animals sensed that their battle was not merely against hunger or survival but against something ancient and unyielding. The ground beneath them tremored anew, shaking with a ferocity that sent all the predators reeling. "What are they?" she whispered, eyes wide with primal terror. As a wall of darkness approached, swallowing the moonlight, they realized they were not just fighting for survival. They were awakening an ancient terror that had long been shackled in the depths of the jungle. What dark force had been roused? As the shadows engulfed the jungle, they braced for what awaited in the suffocating blackness. Would they emerge alive, or were they destined to become prey in a much larger game? The darkness was like a living creature, creeping and crawling through the jungle, hungry for souls. The tiger's heart raced as she recognized the horror. The shadows weren't just shadows, they were alive, shifting, swelling, and ready to consume all in their path. With a guttural growl, she locked eyes with the Bengal, a silent exchange of determination coursing between them. The lion and the tiger formed a barrier, shoulders pressed together, their breaths synchronized in swift defiance. The alpha wolf howled, the sound piercing through the chaos like a dagger. Its voice rose above the cacophony, a summons to the pack. The wolves answered, lunging with a savage frenzy, teeth bared under the faintest sliver of light. Keep them at bay. The Bengal roared, his courage igniting the wildfire within the jungle's heart. The tiger surged forward, claws extending, fangs glinting, a fierce dance of mortality. Each strike was a declaration of survival, each growl a fight against fate. But deep in the shadows, the python remained coiled, eyes glimmering with a malicious promise. With sickening speed, it lashed out, seeking the exposed flank of the Bengal. The tiger barely dodged, feeling the hiss of air brush dangerously close. Fear raced through him, but the thought of his companions, of their fierce loyalty, momentarily silenced his own dread. The ground shook yet again, and with it, the cavernous laughter echoed, ringing of timeless malice. You think you can change destiny? The voice taunted, slithering through the chaos like a venomous vine. You have awakened me, and now you will witness the unmaking of your world. The air grew thick, heavy as if the darkness sought to crush them. The lion staggered, blood matting his mane, but with fierce resolve, he bared his teeth against the unseen horror. This isn't over. We stand united. He bellowed, rallying the spirits of the jungle, but as the words spilled from his lips, the shadows coalesced into a figure, towering and grotesque. It was a twisted embodiment of the forest, limbs snaking from trees, eyes glowing with an unholy light. Your union cannot save you, only feed my hunger. With horror-stricken hearts, the trio witnessed the transformation of the land, trees bending and cracking, roots spilling from the earth like hungry mouths. They were not just battling predators now. They faced a primordial curse looking to reclaim its dominion over the jungle. Time seemed frozen as the whispered dread of the jungle permeated their veins. The tiger felt a tingle creep up her spine, a blend of fear and challenge. We fight. She cried once more, bolstered by a sudden surge of adrenaline. For the souls that roam free, for our lives, for the jungle. The Bengal tiger charged, meeting the alpha's ferocious leap with a roar of his own. They collided, fur against fur, a ballet of strength as desperation clashed with malice, eclipsing the moment in primal fury. The python slithered through the shadows, seeking to strike once more. But something flickered within the darkness, a glint of fur, a flicker of hope. Suddenly, a wild figure burst forth, a white tiger, regal and fierce. Step aside. She thundered, her eyes blazing with fierce intention, relentless as a storm. I know how to vanquish this darkness. But as the towering foe turned its gaze to the sudden arrival, the air crackled with uncertainty. Had they been saved, or was this another predator in disguise? In that moment, time stopped. Every creature held its breath, teetering on the edge of fate. Survival danced in the balance, but was this new figure friend or foe? What would happen next in this ageless confrontation? The answer hung tantalizingly close. The battle raged as the white tiger emerged, her presence igniting a spark of hope that transcended the darkness. The jungle seemed to draw in a collective breath, every creature watching as her fierce eyes locked onto the towering figure of primal terror. The shadows trembled, uncertain against the ferocity radiating from her. Together, we can end this. The white tiger roared, a challenge echoing through the chaos that demanded attention. The jungle itself grew still, as if acknowledging her courage. The Bengal tiger turned his gaze toward her, heartened by the possibility of newfound strength. With a fierce nod to her allies, she launched herself at the grotesque embodiment of darkness. Her claws raked through air thick with tension, and for the first time, the figure flinched, its limbs recoiling as if struck. The python, witnessing its ally's distress, hissed in despair, flinging itself toward the fresh threat. There's more than one monster here, the Bengal tiger shouted, rallying against the incoming assault. This battle is not yet won. As he charged forward, every sinew in his body prepared to protect not just himself but those he had allied with. those who shared the same spirit of defiance. The lion, still struggling beneath the python's constricting grip, felt the life ebbing from him. But in that moment of desperation, he summoned a roar that was nothing short of pure will, echoing through the jungle like a rallying cry. Don't lose hope. We fight for the souls that call this jungle home. The tiger's words mingled with his as they surged together, fangs bared. The white tiger struck with precision, creating openings for her allies. Her teeth sank into the shell of darkness, and bright sparks of energy seemed to pulse from her every blow. Keep fighting. We are the jungle. With renewed ferocity, the Bengal tiger clashed with the python in a wild twist of limbs. The serpent lashed out, but he evaded with fierce agility, each movement a dance of survival. The lion, battered yet unbroken, finally broke free of the serpent's grip. Together, we push back. He roared again, his voice rising above the din of battle. Feeling the resurgence of strength from their shared determination, they became a united front. The white tiger rallied the entire jungle's spirit, her battle cry igniting every heartbeat around them. Animals, great and small, found themselves reinvigorated, their instincts and strength compelling them to reclaim their home from the encroaching darkness. As the tide turned, the figure of darkness twisted and shrieked, a sound of anguish that reverberated through the trees. The shadows recoiled, diminished by the resilience of the jungle's inhabitants. Slowly, they began to retreat, the once formidable presence now fractured and terrified. Drive it away. We are free. The Bengal tiger's rallying voice motivated the collective, and a wave of primal energy followed. Together, they surged forward. The lion, claws bared, charged at the python, biting in swift succession while the white tiger flanked its other side, every strike purging it of the darkness it had harbored. With daring precision, they worked in unison, drawing strength from one another, and before long, the python was nothing but a memory, slithering away into the dark corners of the jungle to nurse its wounds. Finally, with a last roar, the darkness twisted, writhed, then shattered into a whirl of shadows that vanished persistently into nothingness. Peace poured into the jungle like sunlight breaking through clouds after a storm. Exhausted but alive, they stood together. Hearts pounding, breathless, they locked eyes, sharing a bond stronger than words could express. In that moment, they knew they had faced not just physical threats but the very essence of fear itself, and they had won. Thank you, the Bengal tiger said, his voice husky with emotion. Without you, the night would have consumed us. It was together that we conquered, the white tiger replied, her fierce gaze softening. We must protect this land, not just for ourselves, but for those who cannot fight. The lion nodded, gazing upon the vast expanse of the jungle. And we will, he promised, feeling the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. We owe it to our young and to those yet to come. As dawn broke, casting golden rays through the canopy, they stood together, guardians of the jungle united against any threat that might rise again. They had fought fiercely, and they had reclaimed their home. As the world awakened around them, they knew one thing for sure, the jungle was alive, and so were they. Now as the sun rose, its light kissed the wounds of the night, ceremony and closure filled the air. The white tiger turned to her allies. Let us ensure our legacy endures. The roar from the three remaining guardians echoed through the jungle, a triumphant anthem of survival and unity. It was time for a new phase, a new beginning to celebrate their victory and the bonds forged in the heat of battle. The jungle, reborn, thrummed with life once more. And just before the screen faded to black, the voice of the narrator broke in, filled with fierce urgency. You need to subscribe now. Hit that red button immediately so you never miss out on these exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and keep our community thriving. Don't forget to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this incredible ending. And remember, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second.